Welcome to Friday's teacher tip number 6. And today's teacher tip is all about using Class Dojo in upper grades. I currently teach in a middle school science classroom, and our team needed a behavior reset in the middle school, let me tell you, this time of year. So we had some school-wide discipline issues, behaviors that we kind of needed to contain. We tried a couple things. Weren't really experiencing a lot of success with it. So we decided that anytime you have a discipline issue, you definitely need to switch up what you're doing. So we decided to try Class Dojo. And I have used Class Dojo before when I was an elementary school teacher. And then when I became a middle school teacher, I carried that in to my middle school classroom, but that was in another district. However, I've never used Class Dojo as a team, like in an entire school building or an entire grade level band. And so I was super excited to try this and see how it would work. They currently have a feature where you can share classes with other teachers by becoming co-teachers. So you create a class and then you can add co-teachers up in the corner. It gives you options, and the drop-down menu will allow you to add co-teachers with an email. So we shared all of our classes because we have all the same groups of students that just travel around to each of us. And then every time that a student went from class to class, we were able to track what they were doing. In our team, we decided to make this fair. We were going to use our PBIS matrix, which is positive behavior intervention and support. And we decided that we were going to make positives and negatives based on the actual statements that were in the PBIS matrix. This worked for us because we had already taught our expectations and procedures and routines from the beginning of the school year and re-emphasize them later on in the school year from the matrix. So although students will sometimes try to pretend like they've never seen the matrix, we do refer to it and we do teach it and we do enforce it. So it was a great place for us to go to easily come up with our categories. We wanted our categories to be the same throughout the building so that we were enforcing the same types of things in a similar way, even though we are different teachers and we do have a little bit different tolerance for certain types of behaviors. We know that there's no way to completely eliminate that. And students do need to understand that things might be slightly different from one classroom to another based on the types of activities the teachers are doing, that individual teachers' personalities and preferences, and that's okay, right? Because when they are adults and they're in a working environment, they're going to deal with different types of people, different types of bosses, things like that. So they need to be able to flex depending on who they're working with. However, by having this basic framework that's the same from class to class to class, it allows us to get a really good handle on what are the problem behaviors that we really need to hone in on, and which students might be doing just enough in one class to not really get written up for it, but then they go to another class and they do the same thing, and then they go to another class and they do the same thing. So this allowed us to better track what was going on so we could better communicate with our parents, get their help when needed with certain problems, and also it on the flip side gave us an opportunity to reward students for the positive behaviors more consistently than we might have been doing that in the past. So the students actually helped us decide on the rewards that they wanted. We wanted to be able to give students some rewards that they would really work for, and we wanted to also make them things that would be cheap or free so that we weren't spending a lot of money bribing students to get them to do what they were already expected to do. I already have talked in another video, and I'll put that up in the cards that you can watch it if you haven't, about my Starbucks, which is a reward system that I have in my classroom. I got the idea from Josie Bensko from Maniacs in the Middle. However, I don't do the system exactly the way that she does. I actually give out tickets. And so my tickets are used for a store. So it's a token economy. Basically, it's simple. I only do the store like once a quarter. And students just enjoy competing because they're constantly given that reinforcement for positive behavior by receiving these printed tickets. I print them in color, so it prevents students from copying them. And also, I sign on the back. And if I'm having problems with a particular class, I will even put the student's name that I gave it to if they're like using them as some kind of currency to buy other things, which has happened occasionally, but not all groups have done that. But in this case, since we're doing it for the whole school, we had to adjust the system a little bit. When we polled the students and asked them what did they really want for rewards, some of the things they talked about were, we want free time to talk to our friends. We want to be able to throw the football outside, be outside on a nice day, which this time of year is perfect because our weather is warming up in North Carolina. So we're going to have a lot of nice days between now and the end of the school year. They also wanted things like time on their cell phones, which in the beginning of the day, they put their phones in the pocket chart. In our classrooms, we all have the same like shoe type of plastic pocket chart. If the student decides to pretend they don't have one, then we can confiscate their phone if we see it in their pocket. Even if they're not using it, if we see it like the outline in their pocket, we can require them to give it over. That's our personal policy. For our school building, you would have to go by whatever is expected in yours. But our students wanted some time that they could be on their cell phones. So while they're in class, they never have their phones unless a teacher specifically says, get it out to do this. Or unless they say, hey, can I use my phone for this purpose? Like, my Chromebook is broken. Can I get on the Kahoot with my phone instead? Or the Bookit with my phone instead? So it's completely up to the teacher's discretion. So having the option to have some free time where they could just be on their cell phones for a little while. Obviously, we would have to set limitations on what they're allowed to do on there so they're not getting us in any trouble with our school policies. But that's something that they really wanted at this age level. They talked about getting the points to try to compete against each other for outside time. So basically what we ended up deciding on was we would have a competition every single week, grade level against grade level. Whichever grade level had the most total points at the end of the week, they would get to go out for 20 minutes of outside time, as long as it was nice out, on Friday. However, we're also going to give Starbucks tickets with points weekly that they can use to shop, and we're going to set the prices of our items based on the total number of points, which the items are going to go up in price because now they're getting points in every class and not just in mine. So their points will equal their Starbucks, basically. So they'll also be able to shop with individual points, which gives them an individual reason to earn the points, even if they're not winning as a class, which is nice because sometimes you'll have like a group that is always winning, like the Friday reward, and you don't want it to become demotivating to the students who feel like, oh, our class is just never gonna win, even though I'm doing the right thing. So that gives them something to work for. Also, we've decided that if students earn a certain threshold amount of points for the week, that we feel is like good behavior, a threshold, then they can earn a reward on Friday, whatever we decide that reward is for the week. So for the first week, we're giving students a special snack. Each teacher is going to decide what their homeroom will receive. And if our students get 20 points per day on average at the end of the week, which would mean they would have 100 points by the end of the week, then that they will be getting the snack as well as getting the points that turn into Starbucks that they can use to shop at the end of the quarter. So we felt like this gave students a reward now. It also gave students a reward to work for in a short-term future and longer-term future. So I think one of the things you have to remember with middle school students especially is that they cannot work for a really long time for something or they forget. So far, how it's going, the students are actually really motivated to compete against each other. The competitive nature of the Class against class has really paid off. Initially, when we announced everything, our 8th graders were like, rolling their eyes. They thought they were too cool for it. They're like, I don't care about this. But then when they started to realize that the other teams were beating them, their competitive nature came out and they started trying a little harder. Some of them have discovered that certain actions, positive actions, are worth more points than others, like, going out of your way to be respectful to someone, helping teachers, helping other students, all of those things. Classroom, like critical thinking, using critical thinking or being creative, that's worth more points. Cafeteria manners is worth more points. So we got our cafeteria staff and our custodians in on it, so they can also email us and let us know who should be receiving extra points for the week based on the way that they're treating our custodial staff and our cafeteria staff. So everyone's involved in it. Anyone can give hallway points. Anyone can give cafeteria points if they see it. So it really brings the whole school together. And I just love that everybody can be a part of rewarding the students, as well as letting us know when there's something that they need to work on. So as I said, one of the drawbacks is the fact that some students will not care about losing points at all. In fact, some students in our particular situation found that it was fun to try to see how many negative points they could get. But if you emphasize the positive points and you give a lot of attention to the positives that you're looking for, that starts to trickle off. And we have noticed less of that as we've gotten through our first week. It is only our first week doing it with our students. We're having really good success so far. We'll see as time goes on if this continues to be a positive motivator for our students. But it has been the reset I think that we needed. When you get to this time of year and you're really trying to get through everything that you need to teach before your end of the year, and you want to make sure that you have students paying attention and catching on to those things that they missed previously, it's sometimes just really helpful to change up your management a little bit, to tweak something in your discipline system or your behavior management to make it new and fresh with the new season, just so students aren't so desensitized to the way that you have been doing things in the past. One of the great things about Class Dojo is it gives you some awesome reports. There are some paid features on it now, but we're just using the free version, and you can post stories that the parents can see. You connect parents. They can be on through the app on their cell phone and see when their child gets dinged for negative behaviors, and they can see when their child also receives positive points. You can decide if you want them to only see positive points and nothing else, or if you want them to see only negative, or if you want them to see both. You can make all of those as settings. Students can change their little icon on there that's their little monster, and decide what they want them to wear. So it gives them some little creative options. And there are just tons of reports that you can use to print out to keep track of what's going on in your classroom, to find out what times of day certain behaviors are happening. If students are having a hard time in one teacher's class and not the others, then that gives you some really good data that you can sit down and you can talk about as a team, brainstorm how to solve problems. And it's great information to bring to parents at parent-teacher conferences, which for most of us are coming up pretty soon. So all of these features are wonderful. You have some graphing abilities as well. I just think that Class Dojo offers a lot of great things, even though it's typically used as an elementary tool. I think that if you make it to where the students have some input on their rewards, and you think with the mind of a middle schooler, that this can work even in the 6th through 8th grades. I hope you've enjoyed this review of Class Dojo. I will put the link below where you can sign up too and get started with your own class. Everybody have a great day. Don't forget to work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen. Bye-bye.